Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is the holidays. And it can be a challenge, it can be a joyous time or or it can be a challenging time for lots of folks. So we're going to talk about navigating the holidays and it should be an interesting conversation. Good morning, Rosalind. So good to have you here with us today, and looking forward to discussing navigating the holidays together. So before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, all your molecules, your electrons, and creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together. Vigorously rub your hands together to feel all that friction and temperature and pressure. And when you stop, all the tickling and tingling, and allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning and happy Friday. I guess it's Black Friday today. I guess I should have made today's topic shopping or not, or consumerism or something like that. But that kind of plays into our conversation about the holidays because there are lots of social expectations around the holidays. Gift giving has been something that feels obligatory in so many ways for so many people, and in the context of gift giving, it often becomes something that is commercial, something that is very consumer based, and buying the right gifts and expressing the right sentiments, and there's all kinds of status play that comes about with the gift giving part of things. In many cases, we get wrapped up in the whole notion of approval, disapproval, being good enough. And that's not to mention even the issues that arise for folks around family, because there's during the holidays, there are culturally common expectations of being with family and what that looks like. And many of us have fractured families or not the greatest relationships with family. So if we go to family events, there's all kinds of stress and arguments, and we're cautioned to not talk about certain things because they could be incendiary. It's kind of crazy time to be navigating certain social expectations and structures. And so how do we do that? How do we navigate that? And some of us will navigate it by just hibernating and withdrawing. And it's very interesting. I've grown up with a very interesting family dynamic, and I know I'm not alone. And it has mutated over time. I Some people have wonderful, wonderful, rich experiences of sharing with family and being at large celebrations, and that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And other folks have very small families, and may not be that connected. And other folks may have no family at all that they connect to. And the holidays can be a very deep time of loneliness, and a time of comparison of how things are to how we wish things were, or how we believe others experience things. And so there's lots of opportunity to torture ourselves and make ourselves miserable around the holiday times. So Rosalind says, I like the idea of celebrating the day before or after the actual holiday. It takes pressure off and removes expectations. That's kind of a brilliant idea, Rosalind. In fact, we're going to be doing that with a portion of my family, but we're going to just get together tomorrow to just be together. And it kind of does take the pressure off of the expectation of the holiday. But I was really, truly blessed to spend yesterday with a part of my family that I don't get to see very much. There's not a lot of my family left, really. And locally, and it was really, truly delightful. In the past, growing up, I didn't love our family gatherings. I always sort of felt at odds, but that was because I felt at odds in general, in my life, I think. But yeah, it's interesting when we think about this season, where we're going into a season that is kind of a manufactured consumerism, uh, with the gift giving, where we give gifts out of obligation and we spend more money than perhaps we're in a position to spend. And for what? Like the buying frenzy that we have been conditioned to. And so Rosalind says, gives time to self to spend time how you want to. That's beautiful. And I mean, if we were more connected, it would make such a difference. If we were more connected to what we feel, what we're truly moved to do and share. And it was really interesting because last night there was a big upset over gift giving, where one of the kids wanted to be able to give gifts to a whole bunch of people and was going to wipe out their savings account to do that. And they were confronted with, well, why would you do that? I'm not going to allow you to do that, to wipe out your savings. And they were like, well, what am I going to use it for anyway? And so then what arose was the opportunity to be able to make gifts to give, that those gifts are the gifts that are most valued. To give a heartfelt gift is very different from giving an obligatory gift. And it's very interesting how we have been deeply enculturated to the consumerism of the holiday, or the holidays. Rosalind says, I processed another batch of kimchi. Now that would be an awesome gift. One year I made Kahlua for people a long, long time ago. And yeah, kimchi, what a great gift. So this exchange of things that matter to us, that's a beautiful thing when we're connected. But to be giving obligatory gifts, that's, you know, uh, it's kind of misdirected and a symptom of our cultural misdirection overall. By the way, if you all are listening and you want to participate in the conversation, and perhaps you're writing comments that I'm not seeing, please go to the Enlightened World Network Facebook page or YouTube channel, and you can put comments in there, and I should be able to see them. If I see them, I promise I'll respond to them. And good morning, Jenny. So good to have you here with us this morning. Jenny says meaningless, these obligatory gifts, right? I agree. When we can give a gift that resonates, coming from a place of caring, that's great, but if we're giving obligatory gifts, maybe we get to revisit that and look. I mean, there's social pressure. This is a season of social pressure in so many ways. And that's not the essence of the season. That's really not what it's meant to be, is it? If we look at the holidays, it's there are celebrations of bounty and celebrations of miracles. And it's very interesting how we've been conditioned that, Black Friday and that the whole economy revolves around this season, so the whole retail economy revolves around this season in so many ways. It's craziness. It's really craziness. And so I think we get to revisit that aspect of things, and also to be looking at when we have fractured relationships with family, and then we have this social pressure to be convening with family. Yes, so Jenny says it's also hurtful to not receive and be intentionally left out, right? So what happens with this season too, in terms of the gift giving, or even invitations to gatherings, is it becomes sort of a measure. Are we being included? Are we being slighted? Do we have to include other people? Like it's a crazy time to be navigating our social construct. And for myself, in many ways, I tend to just want to opt out and find ways to enrich my soul. So Jenny says it's kind of a form of rejection. And I understand how that can be experienced. And the thing is that as much as we might experience rejection, and I also have experienced my share and a lot of familial disruption and side taking and factionalism that can be really, really hurtful. What we get to recognize is that that's their stuff. That's their stuff. And, we can be looking at things in terms of loyalty or broken loyalties. I mean, that's really something that came up for me a lot, is just feeling rejected, feeling othered in a very big way, feeling excluded, lots of feeling abandoned, all of those kinds of feelings. And the thing is, we often make that about us, like that somehow we're not good enough. And that we did something wrong, or the thing to notice is that we we have our stuff and other people have their stuff. And we, as a result of our stuff, we often do emotional violence to others and to ourselves and to ourselves. And so if we can find a space of allowing, which is not, it's not easy. I'm not pretending that it's easy. But if we can allow that other people have their stuff and that it's not about me, I mean, for them, it might be about you, but that's their stuff. We can give ourselves a little greater freedom to be and to practice self-care. Jenny says, for me, it's the thought and meaning that matters to me, to give or receive. Well, I agree, the thought and the meaning, and really coming from the heart. And I think that a lot of our social constructs are designed to not come from the heart, like specifically designed to not come from the heart, like suck it up, buttercup kind of thing. And having been alone a lot, I know that there are many stories that we can make about being alone. We can make stories up about being abandoned. We can make stories about being rejected, even though we may have been directly rejected. We can beat ourselves up with that, or we can allow it to be this other people, or we can recognize that it's actually a dynamic. And maybe in some cases that lack of inclusion is a gift, because it might be that you didn't want to be there anyway, truthfully. And that's not always the case, of course, but we want things, in so many cases, we want life to be different than it is. And the more we struggle against that, the more we struggle and the more miserable we are. And so if we can recognize that, if we're not invited to an event, if we had been invited, that perhaps it would have been horribly uncomfortable and full of friction. What we imagine is that if we had been invited, that it would have been a wonderful time and we would have felt included and we would have gotten along, but that's not really the case, right? So if we're not invited, maybe that's kind of a blessing, and it lets us off the hook from having to be in that tremendously uncomfortable situation. Rosalind says, the tribe, do we feel our worth from others? Validation, status, maybe it's an out to feel like a black sheep. I can tell you I felt like a black sheep most of my life. And now I just, now I have a deep appreciation for black sheep. And it's interesting, finally, after years and years and years, I'm starting to feel appreciated for being a black sheep, for being different, for being the odd one, that there's merit in that too. Jenny says, my feelings were very hurt and I feel I feel excluded. A few years ago when my family is opening gifts and I had none. I get it, Jenny. I get it. Like that's a slight. I was very hurt and felt unappreciated, Jenny said. Yeah, so I get it. I get it. There's all this social pressure. It's crazy. It's crazy. And these kinds of situations give us an opportunity to recognize our own attachments as well. You know, when we're excluded, we can allow that to shape our stories about ourselves. You know, sometimes people are just mean. Sometimes people are just mean, and that's on them, really, their meanness. And we can allow that to penetrate or not. You know, sometimes within, you know, it's just tribal in certain respects. And yeah, it's a really tough time of year. What can I say? I remember, you know, like trying to buy holiday cards or celebration cards, birthday cards for people that I had really conflicted feelings about, and feeling a sense of obligation and just such a deep conflict around it, and so much hurt and so much sadness and so much pain. And there comes a point where you get to let go of it and let people do their thing. You know, it's like if they're being mean, let them be mean, but don't give it a place to land. You know, if they're being exclusionary, let them be exclusionary, and realize that you don't want to be part of that club, or you don't want to pay the price to be part of that club. Jenny says, yep, even your own child and other family members. Well, other family members have the greatest capacity to hurt us. And believe me, I've been through it with family members, like big time, big time, with just aggressive emotional violence. And Jenny says they forget about love and connection. You know, it's the dynamics in families are just can be so horribly toxic. And it gives us, so on the upside, it gives us an opportunity to process through, to get to another place of presence, truly. And I know it could sound Pollyanna, but the fact is that had I not gone through that, I would not have, first of all, I wouldn't have the compassion that I have for others who experience those kinds of things. And I don't think I would have the inner grit I'm gonna say, and resilience. Like I cultivated a greater inner strength and a greater autonomy that has really served me. And finally gotten to a place where I'm able to speak my voice much more than I ever was. You know, and to say, no, you can't treat me that way. You know, I won't subject myself to that treatment. And I say that for myself, to say I don't need to be engaging on that level. And I also say it to others when when there's abusiveness, to say, you know what, please don't talk to me that way. Or, I'm not gonna stay here for that kind of treatment. And to create to create a sense of wholeness and what I'm willing to tolerate and what I'm not in terms of treatment, because there was a lot of very, very, very ugly treatment in my family. Jenny says, since Christmas 2020, I haven't seen my family. I was so triggered. I was traumatized. Yeah, well, there can be tremendous trauma. And the thing about trauma is that it also, embedded in it, is an opportunity to grow. And I'm not saying seek trauma so you can grow, but if you experience trauma, you might as well take the opportunity to use it to grow, because otherwise you remain a victim of that trauma. And there's no power in that. There's just no power in that. And I think our deepest traumas can come from our family, because that's where our deepest bonds are. And that's where people feel they have license to just be their worst selves somehow, So Rosalind says, will your sentiment be the same next year? What can be done differently? Rather than doing, what can our thoughts around it shift? Exactly. What if there's no way around the hurt? The word sovereignty comes to mind, building armor so the rocks can get deflected and the hurt doesn't stick as long. And I know about armor, and armor is there to protect from hurt. When we become more whole, we don't get hurt as easily. We allow stuff to be other people's stuff, and we don't take it so deeply to heart. And Jenny says, it sucks, traumatized. I hear you, Jenny, I know. And it's not an easy thing to get past that trauma. It just isn't. And the healing is our path to wholeness. It just is. And I'm not saying it's an easy road. It isn't. It takes a lot of courage. It takes finding another dimension of our being to tap into that allows us to live beyond the trauma rather than at the effect of it. And so much of the hurt from family is because we have expectations. We have expectations of how a family should be and how people should treat each other. And we have expectations that we're bonded, and we are bonded as family. But, I spent my whole life trying to heal my family, truly. And to see patterns being repeated over and over and generationally has just been, on some level, it's been devastating, because how do you let go of that? So believe me, I know that it's not easy, and I have deep compassion for it. I was very, very broken, felt very, very broken for the better part of my life, or the worst part of my life. So Jenny says, mine is disconnected. Well, disconnected is maybe better than actively, aggressively emotionally violent, right? We carry that within us. We carry that hurt. And when we can find a way to transform that, that's when we find our freedom. And I wish that there were, 3 easy steps to transforming trauma. There aren't. There just aren't. And what I do know is part of it is not making it who you are. I was broken because I believed I was broken to a great degree. I embraced all that pain and I made it who I was. And the truth is, those are experiences that we don't need to hold on to, but letting them go isn't the easiest thing. We don't necessarily know how. So I know you are. Jenny says, I'm looking for the healing and freedom. And that's a gift to you, Jenny, that you are. And so Rosalind says, you're already open to it because of your awareness. So you're moving in the right direction. The thing is that we do identify ourselves by our history and our trauma in so many ways. Like we say, that's who we are. And it's stuff we've experienced. And we've experienced a whole spectrum of things. And when we can put our attention on the broader spectrum, which is really hard because the trauma leaves such a powerful imprint. But if we can refocus our attention onto some of the other things on the spectrum, it can take release some of the primacy of the trauma, So I know the holidays were always torture for me. And I know there are a lot of other people that are experiencing that challenge, those difficulties, those traumas, the heartbreak and upset. And conflict and all of it. And so I just wanted to call it out and to say a lot of us have gone through that. And this is where it's important to generate new connections, new sense of wholeness, new sense of maybe a chosen family, or to be relishing one's own company even. And I know, Jenny, like the heartache is, I've been there. Jenny says, I appreciate you talking about this. Yeah, I think we're going to talk about it more because I think it affects so many people. It's supposed to be such a happy time, and that's part of what makes it so hard. Maybe we've had deep losses and the holidays just make the contrast of the expectation of joy and delight and celebration that much harder when we're in feeling sorrow and loss. So I think it's an important conversation to acknowledge that this can be the toughest time of the year for so many people. And it can really highlight suffering. And so we get to be gentle with ourselves and compassionate with each other, and to find a path to greater ease, emotionally, greater ease and emotional growth, hopefully. And Jenny says, I spent my Thanksgiving without family and 4 hours in animal urgent care for Gus. Oh my gosh, Jenny, I'm so sorry. I hope Gus is okay. And certainly I know you're giving thanks for him. Rosalind says, to generating new connections and creating a space around the past hurt. The space can be raw and vulnerable, 100%, 100%. And so Gus has pancreatitis. I don't know what that looks like in terms of a disease. And I know that when I had a cat who so many pets I've adored, but I had a cat who I loved so, so, so much, and he was dying, and being present to him dying, it was so painful. And things can build and build and build. And hopefully, you will have a moment of grace. Jenny says he did not eat for days. Well, Jenny, just love him. Love him, love him, love him. That's all there is to do. And I mean, that's the biggest thing to do as you're trying to care for him. So anyway, that's it for this morning, folks, and for this week. So it's Friday, and I wish you grace and ease over the weekend with so much love. And I will see you soon. And Jenny says 3 days he finally did last night. What a blessing, right? Isn't it crazy? My cat has gone through phases where she wouldn't eat also. And so it's just torture. And then I'm so delighted for you that he ate. Anyway, I wish you a good weekend and ease and grace, and we can continue to find the things to be thankful for. So that's it for today. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live each weekday morning here on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And I invite you to check out the other awesome programming on Enlightened World Network, EWN, One with the Earth, and Enlightened World Living. And until next time, so much love.